Finally, for this week's Pro-Life Focus, we go to part 2 of our conversation with David Daleiden as he opens up about how he leans on his Catholic faith in the course of his pro-life work. You yourself, David, are a practicing Catholic. I wanted to ask, how does your Catholic faith inform your work and shape your line of work?
It's a good question. I would hope that any person of goodwill would be able to look at the harvesting and selling of aborted baby body parts for profit, turning our unborn brothers and sisters into a commodity like widgets on an assembly line. I don't think you have to be Catholic in order to see that, or Christian, or any kind of person of faith in order to see that. That's really a basic human moral issue. That's something that talks about our values of human equality and human dignity, just as Americans and just as people. I don't talk about this a lot, but I'll say it here. But I don't think that I would be able to do my work the way that I do right now, and I don't think I'd be able to go through experiences like having your home raided by the powerful Attorney General of the state of California, going through all the the lawsuits and the bogus criminal prosecution, and I mean, frankly, even sitting there and having a beer at the hotel bar with a bunch of abortion doctors. Like, that's an experience that we had during the undercover work, myself and some of the other investigators, and other similar experiences. That's something that I don't know that I would be able to do personally without having the church and having the faith of the church and the ancient rituals of the church and all of that as an anchor, as something that's really grounding and a foundation that no matter if the world is crumbling all around you, you can always come back to that because it has stood and will continue to stand the test of time, because it's not of this world. And so that's something that's critical as a foundation, and as a foundation to stand on, as a support, as something that when it feels like the bottom is dropping out, there's one thing that that's never going to drop out and that's never going to change on you.
I do want to give you an opportunity to respond to critics of your work who say, well, he misrepresented himself and his work, and who are critical of that, and saying that you were untruthful in order to get these videos. What do you say to that?
I think that undercover work, whether it's something that a citizen journalist is doing, or an establishment journalist, or a law enforcement officer is doing, undercover work to me is a special kind of communication that might be a little performative, or even a little pretextual sometimes, but it's geared towards both uncovering the truth and then communicating the truth in an even more powerful way, which is very similar to metaphor or poetry, and many other forms of communication. There are so many other ways that we interact and communicate with each other as human beings besides just a straight up literal 1 + 1 = 2 kind of way of talking. And St. Augustine even talks about this as something that's very important, that sometimes precisely in order to make the truth better known and to communicate it even more powerfully, it's important to sometimes veil it or present it in a way that's not as literal, but might be symbolic, because the symbolism gives you an extra contour to it that you wouldn't have otherwise. I think undercover work is in the same kind of vein, where it's a special kind of communication that is designed to better communicate and better expose the truth that people deserve to know and need to know.
What do you make of Planned Parenthood's new president, Dr. Leana Wen? Do you have any initial reaction to her appointment?
Yeah, I think that Dr. Leana Wen is definitely a strategic appointment on the part of a lot of the established entrenched interests within Planned Parenthood. I think they're trying to please a lot of different factions within Planned Parenthood. Certainly, she fits with the contemporary kind of political moment for a lot of Planned Parenthood's base. She's very intersectional. And I think she's also really meant to be a play towards the abortion providers within Planned Parenthood, because they've felt for so long, like as doctors, that they think they're the experts and they're the ones who ought to be running the show at Planned Parenthood, and they have felt very undervalued and underappreciated by the political kind of public face of Planned Parenthood. So I think Dr. Wen is in part meant to try and solve that problem for the workhorse engine part of Planned Parenthood, the abortion providers. And then I also think, Dr. Wen herself has made a lot of really interesting comments that I don't really disagree with about the importance of transparency in the medical field, and she's even called for radical transparency from medical providers and from doctors about their work, specifically even about their positions on abortion and their involvement with abortion work. So I am in total agreement with the new president of Planned Parenthood on that, the call for radical transparency from abortion providers and from the abortion industry. And so I'd hope that Dr. Leanna Wen would join me in saying, hashtag release the videos, right? Let's have some radical transparency about what goes on with Planned Parenthood leadership at the National Abortion Federation annual meetings. Those tapes are sitting there waiting to be played, and if the new president of Planned Parenthood really believes in radical transparency, I think she would testify in support of that in front of Judge Orrick the next time we see him.
We'll see if that happens. David Daleiden, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.